Hi everybody and welcome back to Can You Build a Solar Collector Out of Cardboard idea concept. So basically you're just replacing a more expensive material with something that's cheap material. Instead of using wood or plastic, you're using cardboard with a waterproof treatment added to it. And then it's a hexagon. There you go. The hexagon shape that's going to have a pie tin, a brownie tin in this case from Domino's. We're going to cut the ends and we're going to harvest the center part here like this to strap on this. So I'm going to try to reproduce this. This is a start, it's not quite finished. So that's a start. Some glue for that. So this, I don't know how much this is going to be like a tutorial or a montage at this point. We're not really sure. So I 3D printed my own template to make this. And it's kind of like a two-parter. So this will give me the overall profile, and then I can just, as this thing is pushed down, I can line this up for the flaps that go up here like this. So, of course, I got a whole like desk drawer full of writing utensils on me all the times. There's actually a lead holder on this one, so it's like a pencil, but it's a lead holder, so it's not a pen. It's a pencil. And I'm fucking blind. Not even using my glasses. Oh, there we go. Got a nice point now. There you go. Point. You line your part up. Trace the outline. That's the first one. Now you have your. This might not be the best way of doing it, but this is just it's like a cost saving. So instead of printing 2 templates up, using more filament, I can shift it a little bit. You can print this part up, so it's like a 2-part. The only problem is I gotta keep pressure on this main template simultaneously as I'm shift it a little bit. Well, I could probably make another template in the future. It might be a good idea because if you're doing multiple, like a large batch, you're going to want it to be streamlined as much as possible. Take the guesswork out of a lot of this stuff here. There. We got so far. I'm going to use the back part of my razor blade as a scoring technique. Creates a nice sharp point for the cardboard to fold around. Kind of when it's starting to bend, to take the guesswork out of the fold. And right now, like I said, I'm using the back part of this blade, so it's not to cut. It's not cutting the cardboard. It's just giving it an edge or a crease. There you go. It's giving it a crease. That's where I started from. So now you can use the other side of their blade. Cut this thing out. And there you go, you got this part here, which is starting to form the outside here. Another thing, just a quick note, just because you can 3D print something doesn't mean it has to be 3D printed. I mean, I know you can make almost anything just by thinking about it and just producing it, but sometimes you gotta think of ways to work around limitations. Be like, you know, to print this in solid plastic, you know, be, well, I don't even know, I don't figure out the price, but, you know, cost something decent. And using something like, you know, cardboard, it, you know, opens up the possibilities, so you're not, you know, restricted by how much you can make, because you're piggybacking, you know, the other technologies, cardboard technology. Anyway, so now we got this part here. You gotta fold it. Just for weight purposes. Like it's a pretty heavy battery. Makes quick work of these creases. So it's going to be, these are the brownie dividers. So it'll be 2 tins and then a layer, then 2 tins of brownies, and they'd be like, I don't know, like 22, I think, in a box, individual brownies. But this is the cardboard divider, just to kind of, I guess, so it doesn't crush each other. And these things, these are the dipping cup dividers. If you have your garlic sauce and marinara sauce, stuff like that, there's 40 per level, and then there's just these inserts, and they're like heavy duty craft paper. So it's like bigger than your 8x11 type thing, and it's, you know, craft, you know, it's thick, tough destruction. So there's that. And that the liners form the outside shell before the tin gets applied. And this is going to go inside like this, and then we got to build this inner parameter here. I'm going to use the bandsaw for that, and we're going to set the depth, figure the depth out, which I don't know if we want to do these two first. Like that. So you have 2 high. You know, I think I might want to do like 3 high. This all like kind of like how you're thinking in my head anyway. I'm thinking like 3D printing. So this would be like the part that you're printing, and the bottom, like how many layers you can have, like 1, 2, 3 layers. How many walls you want to make around there. Then there's the infill. Figure out the infill for this kind of thing. So it's kind of how stiff you want this outside part to be. You know, to keep I mean, this is just a prototype, so the next one might be a little bit different until we can do some like better tests. So we'll do 2. So if it's too high, hey, my dumbass didn't hook up the microphone this time, so I was basically talking to the wind this whole fucking time. Well, whatever. So anyway, what I'm sitting here is I'm just explaining to you that I got sheets of plywood. Fuck me, I can't afford fucking plywood. What am I talking about? Fucking cardboard. And I already put 2 layers. I didn't film the first glue up of it going down. It's just two pieces of cardboard together. So imagine that, I guess. And then I got this is cheddar cheese boxes. That's what I got right there. And I'm just making the first like foundation. Like once I get this foundation established, then I can map out the hexagon pattern the way I need it to do, and then I'll just use a circular saw or whatnot to cut that shit out. And then when I do that, then I can you know go further with the project. I gotta like encapsulate it and put and like stiffening around all the four side or six sides. You'll see. All right. And like a complete asshole, I did the exact same thing on this video. I said, fuck the audio. I was probably listening to gangster rap music anyway in the background and probably copyrighted, so I couldn't do that shit. So anyway, so here is me trying to find the center of this cardboard thing here. And now I got these 3D printed templates out. So I mean, I'm not against the 3D printing stuff. It's just where it makes sense. So instead of pulling out a protractor and try to do the old compass thing and figuring this out, I was thinking like a fractal. It's like, so you just make one and just have it repeating and just go around in a circle. That's what I'm just demonstrating my hands here. I'm just narrating. I'm just a stupid fucking narrator to this damn video. Get this fucking thing over and shit and do something cool with it. Anyway. Here's just a sped up footage of me tracing out these hexagon patterns and repeating it in just one big kind of circle thing there. I got the weights on there just so I can help put it down as I mark out each line. Turns out this actual video was me doing it wrong the first time. So here you go, you get to watch my fucking mistake. So if you see two octagon patterns, I mean hexagon patterns on the same thing, that's why. But yep, so yep. This is me. I'm using my GoPro this time to do it. And I was recording. I was trying to actually demonstrate and stuff, but it didn't get the audio at all, and it was in hyperlapse mode. So I was actually describing what I'm doing there. I guess it might be important. I don't really know, but I'm just had to glue. There's little thin pieces on the top, and I think they were starting to peel, so I had to like patch them stuff. And I got the whole six-sided thing there done, and now what the fuck am I doing? I forget now. The sides. So I got to build up the sides around all six sides to hold the walls. I'll probably do like a 4 or 5 layers for the walls, but I'm giving it a place to go. Like I'm forming it around it. So that's what I'm in the process of doing with that. Let me see. Okay, yep, there's the wrong side. Yep, that was very good, Dingus. Good job. But in its state right now, it's pretty flimsy. Like you can actually kind of like bend it, but you'll see when it's done, it'll be. I'm not sure if I can stand on it. I don't want to do that, but it's really meant to be, just stiff for focusing on that light to one point, so we can, I guess, burn stuff or make power. I guess if you want to do good or evil with it, what the fuck are you gonna do with it? I don't know. I'm gonna take cardboard from work and then like I'm gonna fucking make hexagon panels and wrap it with tin, and then I'm gonna make a really complicated 3D printed mechanism so I can adjust each fucking tile precisely to one point, and then I'm gonna make each disc, instead of being perfectly flat, each of the hexagons, I'm gonna make them with a parabolic curve. I haven't really figured that part out yet, but I think it's pretty easy. I might have to do a little 3D printing with that. That just makes it so that when each of the 18, there's 18 hexagon tiles, so when each of them are angled to the one point, if you don't put a parabolic curve on each of the 18 tiles, then it'd just be the flat surface hitting the flat surface. But if you can make it to the parabolic, it'll concentrate the whole area of each tile into one point, even strengthening the power of the sun. Um, is a super hot thing that could probably melt rock a good idea next to cardboard? I don't know, but fuck it, we're gonna try it anyway. We're gonna see. I will make it so that it's waterproof. I'm just now thinking about fucking fireproof, fireproof for this stupid thing. I did have an earlier video. I don't know if I can link it somewhere. It's fucking, I don't know, 20 years old or some shit. But you can make a. It was I forget what the fuck recipe it was, but you can. I think it had boric acid in it, and I don't fucking know, but it can make things kind of fire resistant. That's probably a good idea. I probably should relook at that video and add that to this recipe and shit. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good thinking, Kurt. um, I can pretty much think I can figure this whole job out, but making the Stirling engine part of it, I think that's going to be really challenging. That would be really cool. That's a way of converting the light energy into mechanical energy. So once you convert it to mechanical energy, then you can use like wheelchair treadmill motors or those hoverboard motors. You can just spin them, and then yeah. So instead of having solar panels on your roof, you'll just have like a death ray pointing to the sun all day long, and then you can heat water to make steam, or maybe you can use the Stirling engine, or I don't know if you ever needed to like melt something or something. I guess if you had a need for that, I guess you could do that. But or wall art. I've seen people just make these as the James Webb telescope, and they just been putting them on their walls. And that's probably what I'm gonna do actually. I think so. I think like in my kitchen, where I have my one TV, I'm gonna move that out of the way and put this there. And so um, I probably won't leave it out there all the time until I get all the bugs worked out. I haven't even finished making the mechanism to angle each thing, so I'm trying to figure that whole spiel out. So yeah, that's another milestone or whatever. And then also there's going to be three legs like tripods, and they're pointing to the top. So I'm gonna have to figure that whole thing out too. Maybe cardboard, maybe little aluminum tubes. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on with my fucking audio. I still haven't figured that one out. Such a fucking dumbass. But anyway, so what I'm trying to demonstrate here is they're gonna have three rods that come to a point about 6 feet, 3 feet away from this dish. And I initially was thinking that I would get these hard tubes from the paper towel dispensers at Domino's, and I was going to use them for the three corners. And like I said, just because you can do it doesn't mean you can. Like, I can make this whole thing out of cardboard if I wanted to. I can do that. But I was thinking to use these metal tubes instead. But I also might want to just make it into the all cardboard too anyway, just to be, I guess, a dick and just say, hey, I made it all out of cardboard and just a little bit of aluminum and glue. Um, but this is kind of cheating a little bit, I guess, because it's not really cardboard. But what's cool about this is, like I said, you use a company who already went to the process of making something, ultra lightweight and cheap, and it's already got a tubular shape, so that's pretty cool, tubular. And so yeah, it's a LED light fixture too. It's 4 foot long, so I might use that. I might use the other tubes, but and here's me just mocking up a kind of like a demo, like how it might look like in the final product when it's done. So, and then here's me just doing a montage of me just setting it all up and everything, and just being weird and talking underneath a triangle for I don't know how long I'm talking to. I'm just trying to demonstrate these things. So it's just, there's the tile, what it might look like when it's done. And I don't know. I don't even fucking know what I was saying there. Flat surface. You make shiny. Make curve. Parabolic. Then you do parabolic things with light. Yeah. I don't know. I really gotta get better with turning my microphone on. I don't know if you guys like the voiceovers or not. Who knows? Hi, welcome back to my projects. Well, I've had a cardboard project for the longest time to build like a shed with these big, large panels for outdoors. And I've also been gathering up quite a number of these aluminum tins. And I've been trying to wrap my head around what I can actually use these tins with and actually combine the ability that I've been using for making these large panels. So I made a hexagon panel. I'm trying to resemble the James Webb T-Spout satellite for a collector array style with this kind of a grid to focus the light, to heat something, to make hot water, steam, anything of that sort for a Stirling engine. That's part of the puzzle that I haven't figured out yet, how to like DIY on my own. I'm not even sure where even go buy a Stirling engine in the first place, but DIY one that's big enough that can produce a sufficient amount of power off one of these things. So instead of making PV array like traditional, you'll have a large array of these panels focusing onto a small point. And I've seen somebody do a reproduction of it with largely 3D printed parts. And when I saw this monstrosity out in his backyard or whatever, it did produce a lot of power, which is great, but it was horrible in the wind. So how practical would it to be left out, 90% of the time without the fact of bad weather or something like that, or it's like really, really windy or something like that. So I want to come up with these panels as a starting point, and then I got to make these tiles that go on top of it. One of the challenges that I can tell already is going to be a problem is focusing this surface on a point that's maybe about 3 feet away from itself. Something like that. Maybe not quite that far, but kind of far. Whatever the ratio is for the James Webb satellite, I'm just going to try to keep those proportions kind of close. Because if it works, somebody spent a lot of the money to do all the work, so why not copy something that's already out there like that? I'm just merely make it into a affordable reproduction. If I can use waterproof cardboard that can be outside, molded in these shapes, Another thing that I'm going to try to do is the guy that I saw online did it. It was basically a perfectly flat mirror that he had, focusing on basically, he had 18 of these tiles, focusing on basically one of these tiles. But I want to see if I can, step it up, make it even more so. So if you can make this, instead of being a completely flat surface, make it, I don't know, was it concave, like a slightly parabolic, like this. So the focus point, instead of being flat, will be basically a small point. And so that way, this surface area will be concentrated into a size like yay size times 18. That's going to be one really hot spot right there that you can utilize for something, harnessing heat, basically. That's the goal anyway. So this is what I'm working on now. And I can figure, like, if I get the design down right, I can have a grid of these things out in the backyard, all tracking the sun. And that's the other thing too, is these things can get rather large, and I would imagine once they get, upwards in size of 5 feet, 10 feet across, 15 feet across, like really, really really wide, they start to become I mean, they're catching more light, which is great, but they're also catching a lot of the wind, which is not so good because it doesn't really do anything with the wind and can actually harm it in a really high wind situation. So by having more of them that are smaller and closer to the ground, that could be an advantage. So you'll get the same kind of surface area if you just multiply each base station, and each base station would be something like this, you know, and they'll just kind of track the sun somehow, and you have multiple of them do the same thing, and then they can all produce power. Another idea I have is try to DIY a spin battery. I'm wondering if there's any way you can get, you know, ways of making really low friction. I mean, it won't be zero, it won't be a maglev, but if you can get it relatively low for relatively cheap and everything, you know, whatever you can put in there, you get out. Might not be exactly what a battery would do, but a battery would degrade over time. Weight is still weight, you know, today, tomorrow, and whenever. The weight's still the weight, you know. So you just have to engineer a nice bearing device. So that could be kind of neat. So you can have the sun collecting the energy, using what it can't use because of whatever. They can dump it into these spin batteries. They can spin up and they can store the energy. And then at night when you're not using the sun, you know, you can pull some energy back. Plus, I'm also thinking about ways of making vertical axis wind turbines too of some sort. You know, why not? I mean, if the material is basically free and you can make a wind generator, you know, why not? So you can have solar, wind, all that stuff. And the cool thing about, back to the my reproduction of the James Webb collector dish, whatever, is if for whatever reason one of these mirrors gets damaged, you can pop it out easily and replace it with a new one because the material is just cardboard and these tins. And even though these tins are pretty reflective in and of itself, you can actually get it to a mirror-like finish, you know, pretty close to a mirror-like finish for having just a base station of, or a base of just aluminum. Also, the size that I picked for this tile is specific for this tin, so it maximizes this surface area here will be continuous, so I don't have to worry about having like a seam anywhere where I'm joining multiple of these tins. So like if you try to do the same thing with aluminum with soda cans, you might be limited by how much space you have. But regardless, I got, right now I'm sitting on about 125 pounds, maybe 130 pounds of these tins, where you only need 18 of these things. It's about maybe half a pound of these things to make an 18 segment solar collector. So that's, I know the original project was the shed, and that's still going to happen, but you know, this is probably more funner. So, but I know I got a lot of projects. I'm also pretty much finished up with the table saw, the bandsaw rather. There's a couple like nice things I might want to add to it. Like there's a way that you tension in the belt of the bandsaw before you use it, and if you're left for a period of time, you want to untension it. And if you try to run it when it's untensioned, it will just bind up, and then you have to go take the thing all apart again just to put your belt back on again. If it's not, you know, if it's still usable. So I want to put a sensor in there. So basically, so when it's in its okay state, it'll let you turn it on. But if you have it in its untensioned state, it'll just won't let the user, this idiot, you know, turn it on and wreck itself. So, and there's a few other things, but it's really getting like a sensor. So like if I stand in front of it, it will be on. If I walk away from it, it'll turn off. Another one I have an idea for is like the vacuum cleaner. Draws a lot of power. Go figure, it's a vacuum cleaner. So I was thinking about a sensor. So once you put it in there, it'll detect there's a cardboard in there. It'll start to vacuum up. You can cut your piece. If you're doing multiple pieces, it will stay on. But then once the last piece comes out, after a second, it'll just turn off. You know, save on power. So that could be a good idea. You know, depending on how many of these things I'm like constantly using, but a lot of this stuff right now is like just in prototype stages, so one thing at a time, right? So, but you know, yeah, other ideas for like these tins were like for the garage, or sorry, the garage, the attached shed. This might be a good material for a siding, like a shingle type thing out of aluminum. That's a common material. Of course, you're going to have to figure out a way to join these things parallel and then lengthwise like this on a panel. But I think that could be a, you know, a novel use case for this thing. And because it's metal, reflects a lot of that. I think it's infrared light or infrared energy by being just aluminum. So to keep the glues and everything behind the panel a little bit cooler, maybe. Also, I'm trying to come up with ways of joining the panels. I actually saw like it's coming eventually. It's just a like a zip tie gun, but it's like a metal zip tie gun. So I'm figuring that might be good, but trying to even go even cheaper than that. I want to like wrap it with a string around the spines on the edges with a like a ratcheting device. I have just a ratchet strap. I think that I might be able to modify that into something. So yeah, ramblings of a madman. So all right, that's it for now. Have a good one.